Friends, this is a clock prophecy update for February 4, 2019. In earlier updates, we showed that President Trump and other world leaders might appear to be acting of their own volition, when in fact they are not. Rather, the kings of the earth are under a divine directive to bring about God's will, as John wrote in Revelation chapter 17, verse 17. Everything occurring on the world stage right now is connected to one key issue that is the highlight of this message, and God is directing us to give it greater importance than any other topic in these prophecy commentaries. The U.S. midterm elections were and continue to be at the heart of a global war between the Lamb and the Beast for control over the state of Israel, and in particular for control over Zion, which is, of course, Jerusalem. A torrent of propaganda from the mouth of Satan is being sent across the internet and out of the mouths of recently elected politicians against the Jewish state as prophesied in Revelation chapter 12, verse 15. Let's read that passage together. And the serpent cast out of his mouth water as a flood after the woman, that he might cause her to be carried away of the flood. And the earth helped the woman, and the earth opened her mouth, and swallowed up the flood which the dragon cast out of his mouth. Satan knows that Zion must be under Jewish control before the return of Christ, and he hopes to prevent the second coming by wresting control of Jerusalem away from the Jews, or by destroying Israel altogether. The enemy's disinformation campaign is in the form of global PR that seeks to invalidate any connection, physical or religious, between the Jews and the Holy Land. His campaign of deception relies on false history, fabricated genetics, Holocaust denial, so-called Palestinian rights, and outright anti-Semitism. Yet the earth has opened up to swallow this flood of global propaganda with excavations of thousands of artifacts connecting Jewish culture to the Jewish homeland. That is what John saw as the earth opened up to swallow the flood of Satan's lies against the Jewish people. In the text box beneath the video, and of course in the written update at the website, you will find a simple chart that shows how the enemy conceals himself while attempting to vilify modern Jews. Be sure to see the written update for that information. Meanwhile, since this podcast format doesn't allow me to show you on screen, I'll describe it for you as best as I can. There are two groups of Jews who have made very different worldviews in terms of political ideology, and in terms of their views about God and the Bible. The first group we would describe as politically conservative Jews. Not surprisingly, this group includes Jews who are both non-Christian but Orthodox, as well as Jews who are Christian, referred to as Messianic Jews. This might appear to be two distinct groups of Jews, but remember the prophecy of Paul in Romans 11 that says the salvation of future unbelieving Israel would be fulfilled when the Messiah is revealed to them at the end of time. Some key traits of this first category of Jews is that they are conservative, pro-Israel, pro-Zionist, pro-Jerusalem, pro-America, pro-West. The second group of Jews we would describe as secular humanist, non-religious Jews. Some key traits of this group is that they embrace leftist ideology, like that of George Soros, and hold views that are pro-globalist, anti-American, anti-Zionist, pro-Palestinian, anti-West, and even pro-Vatican. In reviewing these two groups, who do you think is more likely to embrace Christ at the end of time? Secular Jews, like atheist George Soros, who hates Israel, or religious Jews, who don't currently believe in Yeshua as Messiah, but whose eyes are to be opened before Christ returns, as Paul prophesied? I want to call out the YouTube channel of Brother Nathaniel. You may be familiar with his work. His channel is devoted to a scathing rebuke of the Jewish state, and he claims modern Israel to be an affront to God and to Christianity. He says he is a Christian Jew. His statements, however, are a condemnation of the Jewish state, and even the concept of Jewish identity. He also never quotes Paul in the future salvation of Israel, much less Old Testament prophecies for the rebirth of Israel? Do we find Brother Nathaniel in the conservative pro-Jerusalem category of Jews, or do we find him in the leftist pro-Vatican and pro-Palestinian category, whose objective is the destruction of modern Israel? I think the answer to that is obvious. He is without any doubt in my mind a PR agent of the beast system, sent to bring an end to Christian support of the Jewish state. Why does Satan work so hard to interfere with the salvation of modern Israel? Because Christ cannot return until the Jews embrace their Messiah. Just a quick review of the comment section on one of Brother Nathaniel's YouTube videos will reveal the presence of PR agents whose purpose is to persuade Christians that Israel is an Antichrist state not worthy of their support. Don't fall for it. Now, what about the tie-in to the U.S. midterm elections last year? You'll notice that almost every first-time candidate running for office on the left has expressed disdain for Israel or support for the enemies of Israel. This shows how U.S. elections have been used by Satan to try and end our political support of Israel. As I pointed out earlier in the year and last year, God is orchestrating a careful escalation of good and evil before we reach the second trumpet of the seventh seal. The second trumpet is the meteor that strikes off the coast of Italy. This balancing act is a prelude to the rise of the Antichrist out of Europe once Rome and the EU are destroyed. It may be that Brother Nathaniel has been sponsored by an arm of the Vatican, or perhaps the World Council of Churches, or even by George Soros himself. We can be sure that he does not operate alone. As Christians, we know it is the Lord, not man, who will separate the wheat from the tares at the end of time. It is God, not man, who will judge the nations. Those sent by Satan to divide Jerusalem and prevent the return of Christ are not servants of God, and it is they who will be destroyed in the end. I hope you will read my article at the website, My Servant Israel, Land of the Jews, to learn more about this topic and how the enemy is using every method he can to destroy the Jewish state. See the link to the largest Bible prophecy website on the internet, The Measure of Days, using the link in the description box under this video. The destruction that we saw take place in California last year as a result of wildfires was the worst in that state's history. The theme of the first trumpet of the seventh seal, Revelation chapter 8, verse 7, is destruction by fire. And the convergence of key metrics on the clock in the first half of this year, which we've been talking about a lot in the past few months, leads me to believe that we may have already seen the opening of the seventh seal. A copy of my book has reached the Vatican, where some are being prepared to assist us in our battle with the Antichrist in the days ahead. Many affiliated with Catholicism are going to be saved as prophetic events unfold. Of course, this applies equally to those affiliated with institutional Christianity in whatever form it might take. Watch for the head wound event in which Barack Obama survives to play his role as image of the beast, after which a large meteor will strike off the coast of Italy, destroying the Vatican and most of Europe. The Antichrist will then rise up to use Obama's image as a false flag against President Trump and his supporters. And at that point, the first rapture group, the 144,000, who are the first fruits rapture, will be caught up. God bless as you continue to hear what the Spirit is saying to the churches. Behold, I come quickly. This is Peter John Brandel.